Okay, on Street Talk time then. And by the way, I just want to say, anyone who's listening on YouTube, you haven't heard the very beginning of the podcast, just a little PDA, PSA, what's the word?
No, PDA is public display of affection.
Oh, we're not doing any of that. Well, I don't know, maybe we will be publicly enjoying Coronation Street tonight. No, this is just a Street Talk for Monday and Wednesday's episodes today, because Gemma ain't here on Friday, so we're getting in the podcast early. It's going to be a bumper one next week for sure. This is going to be a little bit of a shorter one probably, but yeah, just Monday and Wednesday. So probably a lot of you have watched Fridays by the time we listen to this, so you'll be able to see how wrong we are on all our predictions and everything. I'm sure you'll love that. Gemma, we are going to be talking about 5 stories today. Oh, no, you need to do your clickbait. And hey, we got the clickbait. Thank you, Jonathan, for sending them in.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Crazy things that have happened in the world of Coronation Street. And I've got to tell you... What?
I was just going to say, there's been quite a lot in the way of news in this week's Coronation Street universe, hasn't there? So coming up in the cabin later, we've got plenty to talk about. But are your clickbaits about external news, or is it about the show stuff? I feel like I'm
starting to see a bit of a pattern here of like the same old things coming up all the time.
Well, you don't have to do them all.
No, I'm just saying, like, this is the same characters and everything.
Oh, okay.
Because I think it's the same group of fans who like to speculate about things. Right, so, from Leicester Mercury, Coronation Street fans reveal new Rovers return owner as Rita Tanner makes sad announcement.
What? The new Rovers return owner?
Coronation Street fans reveal new Rovers return owner as Rita Tanner makes sad announcement.
I don't remember what Rita even announced the other day. I mean, it's not Rita, or maybe it is. Is it Rita? They say Rita's going to own the Rovers return because she's decided that she's going to be stepping down to let Jenny take her place. Am I right?
What are you saying?
Rita. Is Rita going to take over the Rovers, according to the speculation?
Well, people think that Rita's retiring to buy the pub.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I know, but you're saying it a different way.
That's what I meant.
No, well, Rita's sad announcement is that she's stepping back.
Yeah, okay. I get it.
Okay.
Point for me if we were scoring. But...
Belfast Live. Coronation Street icon to return 60 years after debut to help Glenda run Rovers return. Oh,
I did see this one actually. This is people saying that Peter's going to come back for it, isn't
Peter.
Yeah, Corrie's
first in it in 1965.
Most memorable barman. Yeah, I can't believe it's been 60 years since... Oh no, he was a little baby back then.
Well, he was born on the show.
He was indeed.
Not Chris Gascoigne though.
No. Not.
Okay, and
he's
also
been played by. Wasn't he the character that's been played by the most number of actors over the year?
Let's get one more in.
Get in there at least, either him
Peter dies.
or Amy.
Okay, in the article they also called Glenda Brenda, which I thought was good. From the Daily Record, ITV's Coronation Street's Carla Connor and Lisa Swain's decision rumbled by fans who spot clue.
That's very vague. Their decision. Oh no, I do know this as well.
Do you?
Is this not a spoiler?
You've been looking at things.
No, I've not been.
It's not a spoiler.
So is this not?
Well, I think you're thinking of a spoiler, but this is not.
I don't know whether I want to say it then. Well, I'm not going to say my speculation because what I'm thinking of is actually maybe possibly a spoiler.
I'll tell you that the fans spotted a magazine called Home on Carla's table, and they think they're looking for a home.
Oh, that's a clue.
I'm just going to say.
Well, we have said that there's speculation that they're going to be moving into number 6, haven't we? So
they already have a home.
They do.
Maybe they're going somewhere with a cat, because you know what they say, a house with a cat is a home.
They're never going to mention that cat again, are they?
They're like, God damn it, I wish we hadn't mentioned that goddamn cat. Everyone will keep going on about that bloody cat. You know what? I'm starting to feel like vindictively I'm not going to give them a cat now.
Okay, right. You get any more?
Decided. Oh, yeah, I do.
Okay.
Coronation Street star Vicky Myers declares love as she's seen with co-star away from Cobbles.
Oh, God. I don't know. Is it Sydney Martin again?
No.
Oh, okay. Is that Ali King?
She's quite promiscuous, isn't she?
Oh, no. I thought I did see her
she's been out with somebody. Yeah,
Wasn't she out with Sally Carman?
Yeah.
Yeah, for her birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, every week we have Vicky Myers declaring love for somebody, which is her on Instagram going... Love you.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, you could say that about the podcast because I will often sign off with love you. And also me and Inga, we're definitely in love. So.
I would also like to point out, I did mention on the podcast last week about Sally Carman's 50th birthday. And yes, she is 50. Believe it or not. Don't trust Google. Google puts her down as being born in 1982, 1981, I think. Lies. We went years thinking that's how old that she was and that she was just a few years older than us, didn't we? But no.
She's not really that much older than us anyway.
50 feels older than us. That much older than us. Anyway.
Just when I was 30, I started to position myself more towards the 40s. Now I'm starting to move myself along.
I'm not ready to think about becoming close to 50
I've got one more for
Although
you.
if I looked as fabulous as Sally Carmen Dottie when I was 50, in the manly sense, of course.
I think my last one is
No
ITV.
comment, probably for the best.
ITV soap stalwart quits after almost 30 years. It's the right time to leave.
Oh, is this So
this is from the Mirror.
Yeah, this is John Whiston.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about him more in the cabin
later.
later.
This is an advert for all you YouTube listeners. If you want to know what's going on, you have to download the podcast because we'll talk about that in the news section.
Yes, we will.
John Whiston, who is he's like the weirdest niche job title in the world. It's like head of regional continuing drama in the north.
I don't really know
what he does. Why does that exist? And
he was Ian McLeod's boss, and now there's more. But we can't say.
Yeah, we're not going to say.
This isn't the news segment of the podcast. But anyway, thank you for some excellent clickbaiting, Gemma. And Jonathan, of course, for sending them across. Let's talk this week's Corrie. We got 5 storylines today, starting off with Mickey and the Bricky, which is Gary and Mick. Also a bit of Kit in there as well. Mickey, Bricky and Kitty, maybe.
I don't think you'd like to be called Kitty.
Oh, I'll definitely call him it then. Deb Mencher is coming up next, which has some great moments this time. Next Gen, I'm calling this. This is the who's going to be replacing Jenny in the Rovers. It's Glenda. Glenda is Next Gen.
I get it.
Do you get it? No smiles.
That's quite funny.
So we had a bit more of the bolt-on messages story, and Julie completed. Also had a couple of scenes on Monday as well. Mickey and the Bricky first. Do you want me to do this one? I think I enjoyed this story more than you, and you obviously love the Debbie stuff as well. How are you feeling? Are you still, I think last week you were saying you weren't still not teased enough, not intrigued enough by this backstory between Mick and Kit?
Well, today's episode made me more interested. Yeah.
More interested, but not quite there.
It's really difficult because there's a big elephant in the room that we can't talk about because it's a spoiler.
For Friday's episode?
Well, for some, I don't know when it's coming. I don't know. I don't know when it's coming. I just know that there's a big thing that's going to happen.
There is a big thing going to happen on Friday.
And so I'm like, I can't talk about it, but I knew that thing was going to happen. Oh God, this is awful.
No, it's fine. It's okay.
Right. I knew that thing was going to happen, and I don't think that thing is a good thing to have done. I think it's kind of dumb. Right, but I'm totally going to be open-minded.
Well, we'll see in a few days, won't we?
So it's heading towards this like
thing,
and I'm like, that's a stupid thing. So everything that's leading to it, I'm like, is this stupid? Does this feel like leading to a stupid thing? And it did. And then today's episode, when Bernie got involved, and when it seemed like Kit owed Mick a favour, I'm like, maybe this thing isn't so stupid.
I think when I first heard of the thing. I'm still pretty convinced that most people are going to listen to this after Friday's episode has aired, and that it's going to be even more stupid the way we're pussyfooting around it. But I think when I first heard of the thing, I thought that the thing was a bit silly, but then I kind of came more round to the idea and thought, that could be an interesting thing. But
the concept is interesting, but then okay, right, no more.
I've got to the stage. Where I'm all in on enjoying hating Mick. And that's taken me a while.
Okay.
Because when Mick and Lou came in, I was really hoping that this would be a fun couple, and I kind of set myself up to think, oh yeah, they're going to be a bit rough around the edges, but they'll be lovable rogues, etc., etc. And I still do have that with Lou. With Mick, he didn't really stay that way for long, did he? And it's like, oh, actually, I don't like it. Oh, that's not very nice. I didn't have any idea just how vile he would become, and it took me a good couple of weeks, a month, however long, to go, right, so I'm never supposed to have liked him at all. Now I can get into the zone of he's a nasty git and let me enjoy that. And I'm there. And actually, this is the most interested I've been in Kit as well. So I'm feeling quite chipper about the whole caboodle, really. Kit and caboodle, in fact.
Good one, write that down. This is the thing also about it, because it's Mick versus Kit, and you don't like Kit.
I don't particularly like Kit.
So how are you feeling about Mick versus Kit then?
Well, just kind of intrigued. It's not like there's anyone I particularly want to win in this. Maybe it will make me more, on team kit. Because I don't know much about what's going to happen.
It's a bit like World War II if it was just Russia versus Germany, isn't it?
So yeah, no, I'm intrigued by it. I did enjoy the fact that we got to see some of Kit's flat today, and yes, indeed, he is living in Uncle Stephen's flat.
Do you know what? If you pause it on Wednesday's episode, if you pause it when Kit's in the kitchen, you can still see
kitchen.
You can still see Uncle Stephen reflected in the microwave. He's
He's
trapped there like in Superman. Yeah.
The wind changed while he was pulling that face at Elaine. that should scare him.
That would be really cool to like get a picture of him and print it and stick it on the inside of the microwave and just leave it there and see if it ever appears.
Yeah, see, this is the set. Listeners will remember that when we had Al Parr on the podcast a couple of months ago talking about his time behind the scenes at Coronation Street, he talked about a particular set that he saw when he was walking through the interior bits. And he's like, I didn't think I'd see that again. And after we finished recording, he told me, yes, this was the set. So I've known that this was coming, but I didn't know it was going to be today. But there we go. So if anyone that was wondering, yes, it is that one. So, Mickey and the Bricky then. We had a few scenes. We didn't get too much Lou this week, did we? We had her and Tracy on Monday's episode basically getting sozzled. There's a lot of people getting a bit tipsy in this week's episode, which was quite fun. But Lou's going into the salon first, and she relieves Maria of a bottle of Prosecco. Was it Prosecco or was it proper champagne?
No, I think it was Prosecco. But what I think the ITV bosses are doing here is they're training the cast to be merry without alcohol, so they don't have to pay for the Christmas party again this year.
Do you reckon that's what it is? Well, I mean, they're not all merry drunks, are they? Debbie definitely was on today's episode, but Jenny usually gets a little bit more maudlin with it, doesn't she?
Yeah.
But anyway, Lou takes a bottle of fizz because everyone's getting ready for this Chariot Square, what was it? Wedding fair. Chariot Square Wedding Fair. And Lou's supposed to be helping, but
assorted divorce party.
They didn't well, when they had it set up on Monday, I was like, is this a divorce party already? Wow, Debbie's a quick move, isn't she? I suppose she's got to pick up the pace now.
That's the kind of thing that I think I would find hilarious, to like also have a divorce party fair at the same time. But it's the sort of thing that somebody would write to the local paper about how distasteful and awful it was for me to have done it. Because people don't have a sense of humour, do they, in the local papers?
Well, as we know, Chariot Square does only have one function room. And
it's not even a function room,
it's the bar. So they could only have one. Maybe have one in the actual bedroom itself.
Imagine coming in for an afternoon tea and waiting for that.
Anyway, so that's going on there with Lou. She's nicking bottles. Liam, meanwhile, is still... He's still going through his initiation rituals at the builder's yard, shall we say. And Mick's there telling him, you got your GCSEs to have it. That's not important. I was a little bit surprised how little was made of him missing his GCSE exam. Weren't you? Like his English GCSE exam, one of those kind of important subjects that you kind of got to get a good grade on. And he missed it, and Maria was just like, that's well out of order, Mick. So this would be huge.
In this country, if I don't know what it's like now, but if you want to get a job or you want to go, if you're even working in a supermarket or minimum wage job, which to be honest is not that much less than I was on, but like doing any kind of job like that or getting on a course or anything, you have to have a minimum of 5 GCSEs, one of which must be English.
Is that how it works, is it?
Well, it used to be, and one of them has to be maths, and then you need science. So this is just a fundamental... This is like one of the most fundamental parts of like becoming an adult and being able to take part in...
Doing your English GCSE.
In society. It's like a big deal. It's not just a random...
I mean, luckily for Liam, he's probably going to go down the way of every single other person on that street and just... walk down the road and somebody will happen to have a job free for him. Like, what's that colour? I can work at the factory for no background checks.
It doesn't matter for like a Coronation Street character, but I don't know very much about how the exam system or like qualifications work in other countries, and I would be very interested to know. So I'm just telling people if they don't know.
Yeah, it's fine. But I did think that Maria underreacted. I mean, I suppose she was more invested in, hang on a minute, my son was locked in a cupboard for a little while.
I genuinely wouldn't care if my son was locked in a cupboard if he missed his exam. I'd be on the phone immediately. Miss Corshaw wouldn't know what hit.
Maybe Maria just knows that Liam's not that good at English.
Maybe she's like, we're lucky escape.
See, when we have to fill out our SATs papers, because we had SATs week this week in year 6, we have a little box that we have to tick to say whether they took the test, and there's various codes that we put in for why they didn't take the test. Like, are they below the level of the SATs, or were they ill, or what have you? And there didn't seem to be an option for getting locked in the cupboard at the local builder's yard.
It's like there's no locked in cupboard, but there is on-job hijinks. That covers it.
That'll do, won't it? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it all. I mean, that takes a while to get into that, because it's firstly Liam's job to get back at Mick for the whole slit concrete bag or whatever it was the other day. It was a plaster, wasn't it, on Friday's episode? And he puts a load of salt in his tea. And Mick's really, you can tell that he's not impressed by this. He can dole it out, but he cannot take it, especially from how old's Liam? 14, 15-year-old kid? 16 it must be if he's doing his GCSEs. And he's like, oh yeah, it's just a joke. Yeah, you can tell he's peed off. But good for Liam for growing a pair. Maybe, knowing what we know about Mick, which is, still a bit of a man of mystery, I might advise that Liam doesn't poke that particular bear. But, it's these life lessons kids have got to learn, haven't they?
I've realised who Liam reminds me a bit of.
Oh.
Princess Diana.
What?
And a bit like Prince William as well when he was younger. That doe-eyed chin into the neck kind of...
He does have a bit of that
sad,
going for him, doesn't he?
Sad look. Like, I might be a millionaire, but I'm very sad.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So,
not that Liam's a millionaire, because he's missed his English exam. He's never going to make anything of his life ever again.
Lou's over with Tracy in the pub later, and Mick comes in, and Lou says, Kit comes in, and Lou's like, I was wondering when I'd bump into you, because we're obviously starting to see that these characters have had a bit of a history together.
So who's bumping into who?
Kit comes into the pub, and Lou's like, oh, look, there you are. How funny that we've been living here for the best part of 3 months and we haven't seen you. And you're really tall as well. You'd have thought we might just see you poking over the wall when you walk down the ginnel. But no, apparently not. And she tells Tracy, and they go way back. Neither look pleased to see each other. And there's a really interesting kind of unease between Mick and the McAllis this week, isn't there? Like, they're not outright saying what's happened, but there's definitely something there, an unspoken thing that's happened in the past between them.
Something might have happened. Yes,
and I think I said last week on the podcast that my prediction was that Mick beat somebody up, killed him, and Kit's covering it up. But then
Kit seems to be very much in his debt.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe
because Kit wouldn't worry about covering up a crime. He's done it a million times before.
Yeah, but I wondered whether this was the genesis of it. But no, it seems to be. You're right.
I thought you were going to say genocide. I was like, one bloke.
No, so yeah, you're right. Kit seems like he owes Mick, doesn't he, at the moment?
Yes. That's what is intriguing me. And also Bernie, like, coming along and looking worried.
Yeah, but Kit... Did Kit kill someone, beat someone up or something? I
don't think so, because he seems like he's a permanent character and Mick is not.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Kit definitely strikes me as a stayer.
I don't see... Unless it's one of these Gary situations.
See, exactly. And just this, I don't really know. I'm looking forward to finding out. But the fact that I'm having these, I wonder ifs, is encouraging to me. Okay. Where before I was just like, whatever with these characters. So yeah, it's good stuff. So Mick's revenge on Liam is next. And this is him locking him in the cupboard in the far side of the builder's yard. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, but I'm pretty sure that once upon a time, maybe for one episode only, that particular door led into a massive underground storage area where Pat Phelan was tied up on his final week on the street. That was there, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I'm not making it up.
I'm pretty sure it was a huge...
It was never supposed to be there. It was a bit like the Rover's incredible expanding kitchen. I'm sure it used to be a cupboard. Then it suddenly became a massive expanse, and now it's back to being a cupboard again.
But I just find that quite... That's unforgivable sloppiness. I just don't like things like that.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
There's no reason for it. There's no reason for it.
Well, I mean, it was good enough to have the snug stretching halfway into Rosamond Street back in...
Yeah, but that was...
And in the select.
They didn't go, of course there's no snug here because there's no space. And then next week be like, yeah, the snug's been here the whole time. Yeah, no. And then the week later go, what's snug?
But they did it with the select, didn't they? When they got rid of the select in the Rovers, there was no replacement for that. But anyway, this is just a little bugbear. And also, because I haven't seen these scenes since they were first on, but I'm pretty sure it was Liam who finds feeling tied up under there, isn't it? So
I don't know.
That's the worst bit for Liam. He's probably having PTSD himself
he's like,
about.
Oh, Pat Finn's ghost.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I thought it was a jolly joke, but very, very bad of Mick to do it. But it was kind of fun. I wasn't in any way worried for Liam's safety or
character building.
That's what Mick was saying, wasn't it?
It's very character building.
Just for bands.
It's just hilarious banter.
It's terrible. Like the fact that he's grinning along with it and then he leaves him. I thought that he'd just do it for 30 seconds or so. But he literally just goes out and leaves him
for making him look bad.
I don't know what he thought would happen. Like surely he knew that he couldn't get away with this, and there's a very good chance the little mummy's boy Liam was gonna dob him into his parents.
No, I think that he thought that Liam wouldn't dob him in.
He seems like a dobber to me.
I know, but he's trying to ingratiate him. He's using Liam's... He's done a few things with Liam, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, when he plied him with alcohol a couple of weeks ago.
It's almost like he's grooming him. But I can't see that's what's actually happening.
No, it seems...
I just had a weird thought.
I couldn't... What?
About what horrible, unsavoury things could have been done by Kit and Mick when they were younger. Like, was there some kind of weird younger boy thing?
Oh, I don't
know. You know that there's this very famous murder case, Jamie Bulger in this country, and there was 2 boys who lured him to his death, and then they were put in prison, obviously, and then released, and one of them has sort of remained completely anonymous, and the other one has gone on to be, a predator of... I'm not even going to go into it, but I think you can see where I'm going here. Like, is there something incredibly dark? Is there something really super dark here? Did they have a secret when they were younger together that really does implicate both of them? Because you're talking about it being one or the other, and like Mick, was it Mick or was it Kit who's done something awful and the other one's covering, or did they both do something together? Yeah. And then we're going to get, perhaps some kind of like Hail Mary for Kit to, it wasn't actually me in the end, I just remembered it wrong kind of thing. But the fact that Mick is, I think it's because he gave him alcohol, Liam, but it could have been not like, because that's what you do when you're grooming a child, isn't it? You let them in on adult secrets, and you kind of push the boundaries every time, and you make them keep secrets from their parents.
Yeah, I don't see any particular reason. I can't see what Mick would have to gain from getting Liam on his side, or having him as one of the... Yeah, no, obviously, yeah. Apart from if there's anything very dodgy and unsavoury. Like, if he is just a bit of a bad lad, why would he care if Liam gets on with him? Is it
a weird ego thing? But it makes... I hope... I don't know. What do I think? It is really... Obviously, my brain goes in dark places because of all the podcasts I listen to. So you guys are now part of that club, aren't you?
We'll find out soon enough,
I don't think Coronation Street's going that dark.
I don't know. I really don't know. We'll find out. So anyway, Kit runs into Mick in the cafe later and says, I've forgotten my wallet. And Mick says this, and Kit kind of grumpily gives him a note. And this is tying into what we said before about Kit being at Mick's beck and call, basically. Liam's still banging on the door meanwhile. Maria is not very happy when she goes into the Rovers and finds a very tiddly Lou and Tracy because they've skived off this wedding fair. I don't think anything particularly comes of that as far as I remember. And then much later in the episode, this is when Mick comes back to the yard and lets Liam out. And he's like, oh, well done, mate, you're a proper trooper. Hey, that was fun, wasn't it? It's just a joke, just a laugh. And Liam's worried about this English exam he's missed. And Mick says, nah, don't worry about it, have some chips.
He's like, I've never done an exam in my life.
Exactly. So when Maria asks Liam at the end of the day how his day went, he doesn't tell her what happened. And he says he likes it at the yard too. He's like, oh yeah, Mick's teaching me stuff. And I was worried for Liam at this point that he was going to stay quiet about it. I mean, clearly, maybe the next episode he's sung like a canary.
I don't remember what his expression was when he said this, but do you think there's an element of Liam thinking, no, I was bullied, but it was just a joke. And so I'm overcoming my previous... Like, am I maturing? Am I actually, like, in his head? Obviously, this is not real, but like, does he think that he's somehow overcoming his past as being bullied and like taking control of, like, I'm not a victim anymore, I'm in on the joke, it's fine.
Possibly, but then all equally, I guess in today's episodes when he does confess to Maria and Gary, maybe that's him saying, before I didn't tell on Mason. No, before I didn't tell on Mason, and I suffered his abuse and torment for many months, and now I'm going to nip this in the bud because I don't want it to turn into this again.
I don't understand why. So on Wednesday, Gary leaves everybody, and Mick says to Liam, go buy some
bacon bars.
It's 20 quid. Go buy some bacon sandwiches. Why does he chicken out of just buying bacon sandwiches and coming back?
He just doesn't want to go back. He finds it very uncomfortable being at the builder's yard, and I guess he just bottles it. Maybe, yeah. I think that's literally all it was. I didn't
know you could do that.
Mick does remind him about yesterday's antics, and like, oh yeah, hey, it was just a little joke, wasn't it? Don't you? You didn't mention it to Ginger Nuts. He calls Gary, doesn't he? Which is great. And Liam's like, no, I've not said anything. But yeah, he goes over to the cafe. When Gary gets back to the builder's yard, he finds that his son has disappeared. Mick doesn't really care. He's like, oh yeah, he left a couple of hours ago.
I would be a bit cross if I sent somebody for a bacon sandwich. And
it'd be a bit cold, wouldn't it? Cold and floppy by the time it got back to you.
I want my bacon sandwich.
Yeah.
I really like bacon. I don't have them very much. But if I'm looking forward to one, you better bloody bring me one if you tell me I was going to get one.
I wonder whether Mick was worried at all, because if he hadn't come back, I probably would be bricking it, thinking, has he gone and told his parents? Or
no, it's because he's a bit stupid, I think, Mick. So he hasn't thought through the consequences of what could be actually the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it doesn't take long before Gary and Maria track Liam down to the cafe, and like I said, he tells them everything that's happened, the missing exam. Gary's like, right, I'm going to go and deal with this. We all know what that means when it's Gary Windass.
Yeah, I'm going to go get my ass kicked.
Fight. Yeah, exactly. That was great. So, his first thing was to go and lock Mick in the cupboard himself, which was oh so handy that Mick just so happened to be walking into the cupboard at the very moment that Gary comes back to the yard. But Gary was great there because he was like banging on the door himself, going, "Hey, how's this? A bit of banter."
Furious.
Well, of course he was.
Yeah.
How would anyone would be in the? I think Mick obviously doesn't know Gary so well. He doesn't know what he's capable of. I don't think Mick has heard of Rick Neelan and the fate that befell him.
Well, it's not just that he locked Liam in a cupboard. It's that Liam's got this massive history of really the bullying, and now he's kind of back to square one, and Gary's just thinking to himself, how many months of therapy did it take for Liam to feel like he could be confident, and now what is this going to do to him?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't even know what you've done here.
And you are a grown man.
Yeah,
and this is a kid.
It's not funny.
No, but Mick eventually gets out.
I mean, it was a bit funny, but it was not funny for the length of time.
Mick gets out and tells Gary that he's going to regret this.
You know what I say? There's no such thing as a bad joke. It's just the wrong audience.
Yeah.
Okay? There would have been someone that would have thought that was the funniest thing that ever happened to them. But it was not Liam.
Well, these are the two guys that they got working at the yard at the moment. I don't really see the point of them, but their job at the moment is just to laugh along to Mick, it seems.
Well, they're just laughing because they don't want to go in the cupboard.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So Maria calls Lou into the salon later and tells her what Mick's been up to, and Lou's immediately defensive of him, which is,
usual.
As always, very protective of her hubby, and says, oh yeah, it was probably just a joke.
It was a joke.
And I don't know whether Lou...
This was a really bad
I'd like to think that Lou gets that this is, pushed it a little bit far, but I totally buy that she would defend Mick to the hill, because... That's what they do to each other.
Yep.
They're thick as
thieves. Well, no, I don't think that Mick defends Lou.
Well, no, I suppose not. Yeah, it's more her.
Well, she's got nothing else, has she? Lou feels very much like under Mick's thumb.
Well, yeah, last week when he was saying that she was back at home looking after the kids or doing the housework or something while he was there at the pub, it looks like he's not the sort of person that she would want to get on the wrong side of.
Yeah, so she has to back him up.
We've seen he's been handy with his fists with many other character on the street already. Has he raised a fist to her at some point? Don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, Maria says, well, look, I'm not having any of this. You tell your husband, unless he wants to start looking for another job, you need to... unless you want to start looking for another job, Lou, he needs to stay away from my family. So
I'd like to see you fill that out on your form when you fire her.
What?
I'm firing you because your husband won't stay away from my family.
Yeah. Well,
The thing is,
not even down to Muriel at the end of the day, is it? It's down to Audrey.
Well, the thing is about it is that you can fire somebody for any reason.
Yeah.
As long as it's only 2 years in.
Yeah, she's not been there long, has she? So Mick then comes to see Gary outside the furniture shop. I don't know why they chose this particular locale. Maybe it was just a nice bit of open ground for a first fight. But
I'd be so annoyed if I was Gary and I had a big warehouse thing one end and then a bloody great big builder's yard the other end, and they're so long to walk between.
Yeah, good. Enjoy the fight.
Yes.
I thought this was pretty good in terms of fights, because quite often, you know, when they have a punch thrown on Coronation Street these days, it's literally just a punch and it's down.
Yeah.
This is the first time, I think, since Toya and Leanne's Rumble at Christmas that we've had a proper full-on...
An actual fight.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I was like, there's no way that Gary's going to win this. And I'm
so glad that he didn't. Just for tradition.
I love it. I assume this is now deliberate on Corrie's part, that Gary just cannot win a fight, but I just love that he's such a motor mouth, but he's got no way to back it up.
I know, well, you can't fault him for trying, can you?
He's a scrapper, isn't he? He's a scrappy dude.
Yeah, he got himself proper blooded up, and he was still get there with a bottle at the end of it, ready to stove Kit's head in with a bottle of Merlot.
Yeah, what was he going to do with that? Because that now you're escalating it a bit now. You're taking a weapon in.
Well, exactly. Well, this is why Kit comes along and supposedly rescues Gary from doing something stupid.
Gary's like, you don't even know the half of what I've done, mate. I'll bury him with the other one.
I wonder whether he would have gone through with it.
What?
Because, hitting Mick with a bottle.
He could have killed him.
It wouldn't surprise me if he did, because we certainly know that he's got it in him to overreact, to hit
he could have killed him
before he thought. And this guy had been attacking his son. I know as Mick pointed out, Liam's not Gary's biological son, but he's still, as defensive of him as he would be to Jake or I guess Zach.
Well, the other ones, I forgot what their names are, but I think of Liam as being my real son, to be honest with you.
Anyway, Kit comes in. He again, owing Mick a favour, tells him that you just get off home. Gary can't believe this because Mick was clearly the instigator here. He was the one that was doing all the beatings. You could see by Gary's face that he was black and blue and red, and Mick pretty much came out of it unscathed. But Kit said, "Look, I'm not doing anything. Off you go, Mick." And then Gary's fuming. He goes his way back.
Gary's such a...
He tells Gary, "I stopped you from making a massive mistake." And when he takes him into the police station later, he's kind of very heavily hinting to Gary. Well, he says it, doesn't he? You need to stay away from Mick. He doesn't say why, and I think he can't say why. And
what have they done?
Because he knows what Mick is capable of.
What is it?
We will find out soon enough, I'm sure.
Is it something you could make a crime documentary about?
I bet they could.
Fred and Rose West just went on Netflix today.
Oh, well, there we go.
Better go and watch that in a minute.
So Gary's dragged down the station and...
We've missed out a load of when he goes and moans to Maria about it.
Yeah, but then...
And then there's a whole pickle side quest.
Oh, that's just Bernie with her pickles and Sarah in the road. You didn't enjoy Sarah Lou licking a pickle, did you?
I'm not going to mention it.
I didn't mind it. I thought that's probably... I'm also not a pickle lover.
You wouldn't have even eaten it.
Exactly. I
don't think you can learn anything from a pickle, licking a pickle, that you wouldn't know before you licked it.
Yeah.
No.
It tastes as good as it smells, does it?
I'm not going to say anything.
I enjoyed that scene. It was perfectly pointless, and to have Bernie going on to Sarah Louise about what your star sign is, it's like, well, she's Aquarius.
Did she say?
She says, "Well, oh, interesting. Kit's a Taurus."
Did she say, "Do you crystal"?
Yeah, do you crystal?
I like that.
That was good. That was a funny little character moment that was certainly could be cut for Canada. So anyway,
sorry, Canada.
Gary's at the station. He's basically being told, "Stay the hell away from Mick."
He drags him in, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I know, but wow.
But I wish that I'd seen a bit more.
I can't understand how Kit is getting away with this, because he brings Gary into the interview room and Gary points out...
He's not recording it.
And then he says, "Yeah, I'm doing it as a favour," right? And it kind of sounds like who's he a favour for who? And how has nobody seeing what he's doing? He's being so risky here.
Yeah, well, that's
But why did
Kit's
he
MO,
need
isn't
to
it?
take him into the station? Why did he need to do that?
I guess it maybe made it feel a little bit more official. Like,
Is
a
it
bit scarier, a bit more hardcore.
Is it a bit like what he did with David, where he arrested him, fake arrested him?
Yeah.
And it's like, it was just a joke, it was just banter.
Well, it didn't particularly do the job, did it? Because Gary's...
You don't know who he's dealing with, does he?
No. He comes back with Maria later saying, Mick's telling me that he's got witnesses for when I locked him up, because that's the reason that he got brought in, isn't it? Because of the locking in the cupboard incident.
Well, see, yeah, so Kit's saying, when he brings Gary in, he's going, so as the favour, it's a two, that's what I mean, it's like a two, has double meanings, isn't it? Like, I'm bringing you in as a favour to Mick, but I'm not recording you as a favour to you.
Mm.
Like, this isn't a real interview.
Yeah.
You're not really in trouble, but then he is, because Mick's apparently got witnesses that Gary put Mick into the box.
Would
the
it
blue
make
box.
sense if somebody was attacking Kit
Yeah,
and then Mick
yeah,
killed them
yeah.
to save Kit, and that's why Kit owes Mick?
But Kit's that's so silly though. If that's
Why?
really it.
No, because Mick's saying literally, I have killed somebody for you. Why is that silly?
But why would Kit not say anything
To who?
about it to anybody?
Well, he's just protecting his mate Mick, I guess.
Well, it depends on whether this is a secret. Right, we're assuming this is a secret to everybody except Mick and Kit. This could have been something that everybody knew about at the time, but the characters on Coronation Street just don't know about it, because why would they?
Well, it seems at the end of the episode that Bernie knows something, doesn't she?
Bernie definitely knows.
Because she goes into the flat at the end of it and sees the photos of young Kit and
So maybe
Mick
it was
together.
Maybe it was something that was in the papers, but nobody on Coronation Street remembers, because why would you wouldn't remember?
No.
But it obviously didn't come up as a negative when they were hiring him as a police officer. So what was it then?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Did they hire? Would they hire you as a police officer if you had committed a really heinous crime as a child? And do they get rid of those records after a certain? Because is it like, it's going on your permanent record, but we're going to get rid of it when you're 18?
I think the Weatherfield police will have anybody. I mean, look, they've employed Craig.
I know, but Craig wasn't.
Craig was a good boy,
murderer
wasn't he?
As a child, he was just incompetent.
Yeah, no, I think that somebody was attacking Kit, Mick killed them, then they've buried the body or something, so nobody knows about it. And Mick has been...
Bernie.
Maybe Bernie knows something. Maybe she does.
But how does Bernie know? Because Bernie was never Kit's mother or raised him or anything to do with him.
She wasn't
when
anything
they
to
were
do with him, was
younger,
she?
because she only had one opportunity to meet up with him and she didn't turn up. They had never met, supposedly.
Or maybe she did, and she knows something about it, and that's one of the reasons why she's since been staying away from Kit.
Yeah, maybe she bottled it because of what she knows.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe it was public, and maybe she found out what her son had done.
We're gonna be so off with this theory.
I don't
aren't we?
mind. I like being wrong. I really enjoy it. Speculating is my favourite thing. This is why I don't like spoilers, because I know if I know too much, you can't speculate. It's boring.
Yeah, and I know the bare minimum about this thing that's going to be happening on Friday's episode.
Well,
but literally, I know nothing about it.
Maybe when we record the episode, we'll tell you guys what we knew.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it's the same as what most of you know.
Yeah, I don't know how much the synopsis even goes into it.
No, I don't.
I've not read it. But anyway, God, we're giving too much away.
I think next episode is going to be... I think we might just have to do just street talk, because it's going to be 4 episodes.
Yeah, I know.
And it's going to involve the thing.
News. Yeah, and look, stop talking about the thing. So, Gary...
Isn't this more fun, everybody?
If people didn't know about the thing, I think we've probably been hinting about the thing.
Why don't you guys, if you don't know what we're talking about, why don't you just Google Coronation Street, the thing, and see what it comes up with?
Gary pulls up at the yard later, and it turns out that somebody, I wonder who it could be, has turned it over. It took me a while to realise that something had even happened there, because
mess.
It's usually, exactly. It's not exactly going to be winning any cleanest, Weatherfield's cleanest yard awards
the fact
anytime
that there
soon, is it?
I don't think there's ever been an award for the cleanest builder's yard goes to show you that it's not a highly valued trait, is it?
Exactly. But Gary notices that things are a bit
on the floor,
out of order there, and Mick walks past gloating and going, oh yeah, who could have done that, eh? Well, if only you hadn't fired me, I'd have been here and made sure that this hadn't happened. So this is him kind of asserting his dominance.
I don't get it, because if I'm Gary, I just phone up the goons and get them to clean it up. It's no skin off my nose. I'm the boss. I don't tidy
This
up.
is Mick's warning shot across the bow, I think. Like, I don't think it's a case of, I've roughed up your builder's yard, now I'm going to leave you alone. This is the beginning of something, and they're able to nip it in the bud.
I'll tell you what, this is why I could never be a soap actor, a soap character, or commit a crime in real life, because I wouldn't be able to help myself. I'd be like, I've killed a man, so, but watch your back.
Well, this is what Tracy says, isn't it? She proudly
I know, but
announces to anyone who gets on her
she's
bad
like,
side.
that's all been done and dusted. They can't prove
It's
it.
for fun.
Whereas Gary's
Everyone
like,
says it's a great scene.
I don't want anyone to know that I did kill a man, because that could still get me in trouble.
That's basically it for the story. At the end of the episode, we get this scene with Kit in the flat. Bernie tries to come round, and we didn't particularly get much of a reason why, but he's not interested in talking to her. So there's something going on there that we are not privy to as of yet. And he disappears off into the bedroom or something, and this is when she roots around in his bin, don't ask, and finds this...
He's like, she was going, is he pregnant? I bet he's bloody pregnant. Oh my God.
Pregnancy kit, yeah. She finds this, what's it called? Photo booth photos of the two of them. And then,
passport photos.
Yeah. I couldn't tell whether she was looking worried or
Well,
realising something.
Realisation. A startling realisation.
It seemed like a look of realisation from
old
Jane Hazelgrove there.
So Kit's got these pictures, and he's clearly knows Mick from when they were from before. So the assumption is that this is Kit and Mick when they were younger, or is it Kit and his brother that Mick killed?
Yes, that's actually very, very true. I just assumed it was the two of them, but I 100% genuinely do not know if that's.
Or is it just two random boys that they killed?
Could have been
in a photo booth because they were taking too long.
Could have been. Who knows?
Was the final picture of them going? Ah!
But yeah, I really was intrigued by a lot of this week's story. I thought the fight was cracking.
It really was, yeah.
And it set me up nice for the thing, really, to be honest. So before we say any more, let's move on to the Debbie story, Gemma, and the whole wedding party shebang on Monday's episode.
Well, the wedding fair on Monday, so also everybody's setting up, and of course every single business on the street, apart from the Rovers and the cabin.
They don't need any extra publicity. They've got no money problems.
And Roy's, actually. They're all into weddings, aren't they? So you've got the salon, you've got that they do the hair, and then you've got Speed Dial and the Bistro doing the wedding catering.
You've got
Preston's Petals. You've also got... Who else was there?
It was Speed Dial, Bistro,
that was it,
Preston's, and the salon.
I'm surprised they didn't have Kevin and Abby there going, oh, if your car breaks down on the way to the wedding, you want to make sure that you're covered.
Yeah, it was a little bit...
Everyone's there.
Yeah, a little bit. We've invited our friends.
But that's okay, because we want more people in scenes, don't we?
I mean, it was fun. It was a nice little setup, yeah.
So, Debbie's very, getting everyone sorted out, and Carl's like, you need to calm down. Take it easy. And she's like, no, this is Debster in her prime, okay? So she's all got it all under control. And meanwhile, Ronnie's looking after Alfie. Alfie or...
Yeah, Alfie.
Not the other one.
Who? What other one? Layla?
Yeah.
I know the difference between
Layla's
Alfie
in America.
and Layla.
Layla's in America.
Yeah.
But what is it about Ronnie that everyone's like, have my child, please? Is it just biological? They want to have his child. But
well, he's got big, strong arms, hasn't he?
Here you go. Hold this baby with your big, strong arms,
yeah,
please.
He's not joffing them.
So they're talking about the fact that Debbie's dumped him, and he's really upset about it still and confused. And Kevin's like, I'm going to ask why and see if I can get you back together again, because you know me, Cupid Kev, they call me. So he goes to the bistro to offer some help to Debbie, who's borrowing glasses from them, and he asks her about dumping Ronnie, but he's very ill, isn't he? So he's got
a bit
shaky,
poorly, yes,
and has to sit down, and I think
has a bit of a pant.
Oh, Abby, I undone my pants. I'm ill. Right, so he's out. He's out. Don't worry about him.
Yeah. He's got chemo.
He's
coming
got
up
cancer.
on Wednesday. They're going to sort that.
Back at the hotel later, we get a bit of Leanne being a cow, which
Leanne
is
was
fantastic.
great.
So
It seems like it's been months since we've seen any Leanne.
Yeah.
And it's nice that she's still fuming about
still
the whole...
unhinged. Yeah.
She still hasn't forgiven Nick and Toya for getting together. She's just really holding on to that grudge, I think.
She and Alia's kind of like, oh my god.
Alia's kind of a bit like a wingman, I thought.
She was like,
yeah, who does that
she's
sort of thing?
She's a bit mad. Like, I need to stop her from going insane.
I think if I was Alia, I would also be a bit of a yes man to Leanne, because best to keep her on your side.
I would not want to be that woman's enemy.
No, but I think there's very few people who I would like to have as my enemy less than Leanne.
Even Tracy, because Tracy, I think I could probably... Tracy just likes to make a bitchy comment and maybe kill you, but...
Leanne's going to come stomp over to you, point at you in the face and like get right up close.
Leanne will
and just
also never ever forgive you.
No.
Right, so
Tracy's had a bitchy comment, like you said. She probably forgets about you, but
she don't care.
Leanne's got a grudge list, hasn't she?
She's not bothered.
Yeah.
She finds it funny. Tracy finds it funny, but Leanne's like, everything is personal, and I will remember this forever.
Yeah.
And she's mad because Toya and the Bistro have a better location.
They got prime spot,
and Speed Dull and their lovely catering, and she's just in the background fuming in lots of scenes.
They've just got a little. The cart was the Speed Dull cart, wasn't it? That they have the little tussle over later.
Yeah.
And it was
right
away in the corner.
It was full of those lovely chips that Leanne wanted to put on the menu. Do you remember, for lunch?
Yes.
And if I was Alia, I'd be still a bit annoyed about that myself. Right, so Tracy and Lou still haven't turned up with the alcohol and whatever.
Oh yeah, they're in the pub, aren't they?
And Debbie realises that she's lost her clipboard, which is where all of her thoughts are written down. And she's panicking because she can't find it. And this is obviously because she's kind of trying to manage her dementia, and so making notes is one of the ways to do that.
Yeah, but I mean...
And she's worried she's going to be out of control without it.
It's also an easy mistake that anyone can make. I'm always putting things down somewhere and not knowing where they are. But if you're worried that you've got an increasingly deteriorating memory, you're going to look at every single little slip of the mind that you do and think, well, this is me gone. It's getting even worse.
It is really interesting that like Debbie had like about 1 million symptoms before she was diagnosed, and now she's been diagnosed. It's like she just left a clipboard somewhere once.
But if you look at the information about vascular dementia, this, like I said, this stage that she's in currently could, it won't, but it could be like this for years. That she's just occasionally forgetful. Mm-hmm. But I've got a feeling she's got one of these accelerated
ones. Yeah. Right, so Leanne gets annoyed because Mary are asking Toya and Nick when they're going to get married, and they're like, oh, I don't know. And she's like, wow, that's it. And she's starting to moan. And so Debbie's like, well, if you don't like it, you should get out. And she starts tussling with Leanne and pushing her little cart out to kick her out of the...
I kind of liked it, but kind of not. It was a little bit childish for me. And then when Debbie ends up with a cut hand, it's like...
How did you cut your hands on chips? They must have been very crispy.
Yeah, they've been through the air fryer, haven't they? It could have been done better. And I love both of those characters, but...
I did think it was silly.
It was a bit silly.
So Toya's worried that Debbie might need stitches, but Debbie says she's fine. And so Ronnie comes over and says, look, I'm going to take you to A&E whether you like it or not. So they're sitting together in the waiting room, and it seems like it's warming up a bit. And then the nurse comes
Between
over
Debbie and Ronnie.
And says, can we please discuss some of your medical history? And obviously Debbie knows that this could be something that she,
doesn't want Ronnie
to hear. So she leaps up and sort of says, like, you just go away. I need to talk, bugger off. So Debbie and the lady go into a side room, and the nurse says, do you think that your vascular dementia's got anything to do with what's happened to your hand? And she's like, no. Well, I mean, maybe, could have been, don't know. And my family don't know, I haven't told them yet. So Abby goes home and tells Carl and Kevin about what happens with Debbie, and she finally leaves her appointment, and Ronnie is still there waiting for her. And he's like, look, what is going on? What's going on with us?
This was a really sad scene because Debbie doesn't mean any of what she's saying, and she clearly is still hurting inside. She wants nothing more than for Ronnie to comfort her and give her a big hug, and she hasn't fallen out of love with him, and she's already dealing with this horrible diagnosis that she's got, and now she's having to lie to him, lie to herself, push him away when she just wants to pull him in tight. So it was really sad that she had what she ended up saying.
What horrible film was it where there was this lovely dog or some kind of dog, and they had to make the dog go away by shouting at it, and it didn't want to leave, and they were like, go, leave.
Oh yeah.
What was that from?
I don't know. I know what you're referring to. I can picture it as well.
I would never watch an animal film. I hate them.
Taking the animal out into the woods.
Well, that's a different thing altogether.
But yeah, I know what you mean. But
so she's like, she starts doing like that, like going, leave me alone, you horrible dog. But she says, you're a joke, you're pathetic. You're like, oh, look at me, I'm big with all my muscles. You're all gong and no dinner. There's nothing you can give me that I can get for myself. Is that clear enough for you? And he's like, oh, how could you? My muscles on my thing.
Absolutely brilliant was Debbie, and the writing for Debbie, and the performance. Yeah, when she was like, oh, I'm so big with all my muscles. Like,
she's great. I love Debbie.
It's perfect for her.
I know.
And the way that they made her drunk on Wednesday's episode was perfectly Debbie drunk as well. It must be so fun to write for, just knowing that she's going to give it 1,000,000% in a performance.
I just don't understand why we couldn't have had this without the dementia.
I know.
Because I think that there must be some kind of rule that you can't be in a scene unless you're having a story. But it's just driving me mad how much they're using Debbie now because of this story. But like 90% of the scenes would have worked without it, and we didn't need to be made to love her any more than we already did by thinking that we were going to lose her, because everybody loved Debbie already. Well, we just got to
enjoy her while we can, and not think too much about where it's going to be, because at some stage this Debbie is going to be gone. Sadly,
she's like the cherry blossoms.
She is
beautiful and temporary. So she weeps as after he's gone. She goes back to the house, and they're telling her that she shouldn't have chucked away what she had with Ronnie, but whatever.
You're heartless, Gemma.
Whatever. I can get my own muscles if I wanted them.
But I still stand by the fact that me and probably most other viewers were never that invested in Debbie and Ronnie, because they never showed them together anyway.
Do you think that Ronnie will be back with Debbie before long? Because I do.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I was wrong. I thought that they'd be inspired by Brian and Julie to get back together. I mean, they still could. I don't know when Julie's funeral is, whether it's next week after. I've literally got no clue.
Oh yeah, maybe Brian will do a eulogy and say, I didn't care that I only had a week with my love, because that week was an eternity.
Yeah.
And then she'll be like, oh, I could have an eternity with them muscles.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why Debbie would necessarily be going to Julie's funeral, apart from the fact that they've both got fabulous fashion sense.
Free sandwiches.
Well, maybe. So, yeah, they'll be back together before long, I am sure.
So later on, Leanne walks into the pub and finds Toya, Nick and Mary having a giggle about it. And she's wallowing, but she ends up in a booth with Uncle Ronnie.
Oh, yeah.
So Debbie's like, okay, I need to go actually and talk to Ronnie and tell him how I feel. And Carl's like, good luck. So she goes and she walks in on Ronnie and Leanne. And Leanne's just flirting and says to Ronnie, we'll be all right, just the two of us.
Yeah, and they don't particularly go much further down that route in today's episode, do they? I'd forgotten for most of today's episode that even happened until somebody referenced it. But this is a bit of a callback to earlier in the year when Leanne did make a bit of a pass at Ronnie, didn't she? And was stroking his leg or what have you in the Bistro.
Yeah, that was a really good call. That was good. Yeah.
I mean, do you think that there could... Because although I do think that for sure Ronnie and Debbie are going to get back together, is there going to be a little relationship between Ronnie and somebody, and why not Leanne?
Thing is that,
in between time,
I cannot think of anyone who would be less interested in Ronnie than Leanne.
Do you think?
Because I think that Debbie is a bit more of a happy-go-lucky, take you as you find you. I don't need you to be anything more than you are. But I think Leanne would be a more kind of a, oh, I thought you had hidden depths, but you really are just a muscle guy kind of a person.
Well, maybe he does have hidden depths. You never know.
I don't think he does. Sorry, Ronnie. I don't think he does.
Wednesday's episode, I didn't know what I was letting myself in for with the whole Debbie drunk shenanigans.
Oh, I loved it.
Because this was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, she was so good.
And it just kept on going as well. It wasn't just like it was one little drunk moment. You got many scenes of Sue Devaney just going like,
full ham.
She so was. And it was just brilliant. It was so much fun.
Well, Debbie goes round to number 13 and gives Abby a present for being her friend, looking out for her after Cartgate. And Kevin's like, I'm still feeling a bit bad. Please, can you go out together?
He just tries to get rid of them and says that they don't need to come along to the chemo session, doesn't he? He's like, I'm fine on my own. I think one of the nurses there fancies me.
I was going to say, yeah, we having an anniversary at chemo. So Debbie's like, let's go to the bistro. So they go.
I think she made a joke about, let's really push the boat out and have mineral water. And I'd just been saying to you, while pushing the boat out, going to the bistro. Like, it's literally how many steps from their front door across to the bistro.
We're
it's
just
not exactly
jealous.
Pushing the boat out. Why?
Because we can't go 3 steps out the door and go to sit.
If I had a bistro
brilliant.
3 steps out the door, I would not consider it a special treat. Sorry. So, but anyway.
I would. That's because you don't... okay, let me point out to you, Michael, that you do not do the cooking, you don't do the cleaning, you don't do the tidying.
I do some cleaning and tidying.
You don't plan any menus and you don't buy any food. I do all of those things. So to you live in the bistro. This is where you live. You live in a restaurant where you get given everything to you and you have no effort whatsoever. And that's fine. That's how we're doing it at the moment. But of course it's not a special treat. But for me, that would be a lovely night out.
Fair enough.
That's completely fine how we do it. I'm just saying, I'm not bemoaning my fate. No, I'm just letting everybody know that's completely fine how it is at the moment. But you do live in the bistro.
Yeah.
Unless you want to live in Speeddale.
Maybe I do.
Right, so they go to the bistro, and in the booth, Abby tells Debbie that she's been a bit quiet, and she wonders what's going on. And Debbie's like, "No, I don't really talk about it, or Ronnie or anything." And then too bad because Ronnie comes in, and he comes and sees how Debbie is, and they just be a bit awkward, and he goes off.
Yeah.
And Debbie's like, "Do you know what? I was gonna just have mineral water, but maybe I'm gonna have a double vodka, please." And so Toya keeps bringing her over all these drinks, and there's a really hilarious bit where Debbie says, "Oh look, Toya and Abby, I know you guys don't like each other, and you got this bad history, what with you stealing your husband and you stealing your baby, but let's just chill out for the time being."
I loved it. My favourite.
And then
bit.
she goes off and she says, Debbie says to Abby that she dresses like the Amish.
Yeah, she did, didn't she? My favourite bit was the hair flick.
Yeah.
Where I can't remember what she was doing.
She says, "I've got to let my hair down, but I don't have any. I'm trying to flick it and I don't have any. Let me flick yours."
It was brilliant.
And
it
then
was so
she says,
funny. No, I love the bit where she says, "Have you noticed there's a lot of crime round here recently?" Now, if that's not a drunken fourth wall break by Debbie Webster, I don't know what is. She might as well have said, "Did you know that there's also lots of police scenes and hospital scenes at the moment?"
She's like, "Do you think they gave me dementia because they've got a hospital scene, or do you think that's
Am I in an issue-based story?
She goes to the toilets for a twiddly twoo.
Yeah, twiddly twoo.
And as she goes off, Abby like calls, I think, Carl to get her.
Yeah, it was Carl,
to rescue her. I thought that was a bit mean of Abby because I don't understand why she was so upset that Debbie was having the time of her life. I guess because she was sober and Debbie was drunk, but I would have just been feeding her vodka and letting her go off on one. Wouldn't you?
Especially as they only do live a couple of steps away, as we said. I suppose she realises she's probably reached her limit and might need a little bit of a helping hand.
I think
home.
I could carry her myself. I don't know what Abby's worried about. Debbie is telling Abby how she used to think she was well dodgy, and now she's like, "Oh, I know how lucky Kevin is to have you." And then she starts to cry.
Yeah,
and
then
say
the
it's all
Morgan
so
stage
unfair.
comes in.
This is when I would have started to phone somebody for help.
Yeah.
And so Abby thinks that she's crying about Kevin, and Debbie's like, "Look, I just want to get really drunk and forget. That's a joke," she says. And she's just about to tell Abby about why that is a funny joke. When who should come in but Carl?
I was thinking that she might have she was about to confess.
Of course.
Obviously that Carl was going to come in, but I thought, no, is she actually going to...
I thought she was going to get it out before Carl.
Yeah, I did wonder. I thought, no, surely there's so much more mileage in nobody else knowing about this. But the way she was going, I was just willing Carl not to step into that room, because then Abby could have known, and then would she have said anything? Again, would she have told Kevin? Does she not want to upset Kevin even more when he's already going through a hard time? But close.
Here's a question. Do you think that Carl, if he'd overheard Debbie telling Abby, would have gone, "Oh my God, I can't believe it"? Or would he have gone, "Oh, I knew all along"?
Yeah, I don't know.
That would have been a difficult choice for him to have made, because if he pretends he didn't know, he's going to have to explain to Debbie why. And if he says, "I knew all along," he's going to have to explain why he never told anybody. Especially...
I think it's fair enough. If somebody tells you something like that in confidence, even if it's pretty big, you can't really hold it against somebody who does that.
I'm sorry, but if somebody told me that they had something like that, I would have to have said something if they were then going to look after a baby by themselves.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot she does do that.
I would either have said to them, "I'm going to have to insist that I help you with this baby," or I'm going to have to say, "I'm going to have to stop you from doing it, because I don't know enough about it, but it's not my baby, and the person who gave it to you didn't have informed consent for you to look after."
But Debbie is pretty, she's not
She's
deteriorated.
completely fine, but there was a moment when she wandered around in the alleyway and she was completely absent.
Yeah.
And she's had moments where she was absent. I'm not saying that you're not, people are incapable of looking after babies if they have issues like that. Of course I'm not. But the person who was asking Debbie to look after the baby didn't know, and they would not have necessarily made the same decision if they had known. So anyway, she's like, Carl says, "Oh yeah, the bad news is that there's a late night karaoke bar opening nearby the hotel."
Glenda's ears prick up there.
She's like, "Oh, let me go." And then she decides she wants a pudding, and then Debbie decides she wants to throw up. And so Carl and Abby have to help her back to number 13, and then she just goes to sleep.
Well, not until she's done a fabulous Bananarama impression and kind of sashayed around the lounge, falls backwards, does a backward gambol on the sofa before it's like, "I'm going to have a nap now."
I love it so much. And then, of course, Abby has to go and ruin it by thinking how erotic it is that Carl is such a nice man.
I just hate it. That really did spoil it. Just the look that Abby gives him. So if these two are going to have an affair, just get on with it. Yeah. Get on with it. You've been teasing it for a month now. Either don't do it and make it clear that you're not going to do it, or get it out of the way, because every episode I'm living in hope that they don't actually
Aren't you excited?
Enter into this illicit liaison, even though I know that they almost certainly will.
Disgusting.
Just do it, you two. Get it out your systems, honestly.
Just do it and don't show me. I don't want to know. So she's just about to resist, but Carl...
no, she was resisting.
Kevin, yeah, she's resisting. She's just able to resist, and then Kevin walks in. And he's very tired, and so Carl goes home. And then he sees, Carl goes to the shop and sees Ronnie, and has a go at him for being all over Leanne. And Ronnie says that Debbie's the one who broke his heart, not the other way around. Yes. So he can drape himself over whoever he wants.
Quite. Yeah, enjoyable stuff this week in that story. Did the plot develop too much? I don't know. I mean, it's more just
it didn't
digging
really,
in a few extra feet for the relationship of Debbie and Ronnie. But
it's just re-establishing a few other things, like Leanne and Ronnie might make something of it.
Yeah,
and
Carl's still determined to keep his secret about Debbie a secret. But it didn't matter, because there was just lots of great character stuff all centred around the wonderful Debbie Webster.
Would have taken the Debbie scenes without the story.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think lots of people would agree with me.
Yeah. So on to the next story anyway then. Next gen Gemma. Next gen Glenda. Sure it's going to catch on.
Why not?
Yeah. What happened? Glenda is now in charge, for the time being, of the Rovers.
She's the manager.
She's the manager. She's running it. Jenny is gone. I'm glad that she went with a bit of a smile on her face at least, because she was a bit sad about it last week, wasn't she? And she did have that nice-ish moment, which was a bit of a passing the torch moment to Glenda at the end of Monday's episode. Are we gonna? Do you think that is 100% definitely it, or is there any hope of a comeback here?
Why don't you just read through what happened with the story?
Why?
So we can
Gemma
talk about what
You don't dare
happened.
make a prediction. Well, I don't think we're going to have her back. I'm very sad about it. What happened was, Carla's saying, well, who's going to be in charge of the Rovers now? Ryan, do you want to take more responsibilities on? He's kind of sheepishly admits that he's taken a job from Debbie, though. What about Glenda? She'd make an excellent bar manager. I do think that Glenda is a solid choice. Everything that I've seen of her running it this week, I don't know, with all the karaoke, I'm loving it. Would I get sick of it if it was like that every night?
I do feel like
Quite
someone's
possibly.
I think Carla's gonna have to put a
rein her in.
stop to it soon enough.
But
it's too fun.
She is an entertainer, is Glenda, isn't she? As is Jodie Prenger, of course.
I think she's going to decide that she's not a manager, she's an entertainer.
Well, I do think that. I mean, we haven't seen her doing much managing yet, she's not been doing it at the Rotors or any of the business side of stuff. Pickles. But yeah, exactly.
There's no time.
No, you're right. Buying pickles is her one managerial decision so far this week.
And printing up things like
yes.
pickle posters. And
did anybody
t-shirts.
else notice that? Maybe it was just me. When they had the pickle promo on, was it Wednesday's episode?
Yes.
They had a professionally printed, I'm going to say, leaflet, kind of stand-up leaflet thing, all about the deal. Has Glenda got a special professional printer at the back or something?
I think she knows the fella.
Do you think she would need?
Yeah, I think she knows the fella down the printers. Yeah.
I reckon she's got old Stephen Mack to do it. He used to do his printing business, didn't he?
But anyway,
she's 100% brilliant barmaid material. And even though, I don't know whether this is going to last forever, I am really loving seeing her in charge. It's like she's been... she's not been exactly a shrinking violet up to now, far from it. But this week has been like Glenda unleashed. Don't you think? Like, she's in charge, she can do whatever she wants. It's like she's been wanting to sing, and this is the thing we have seen her sing in the Rovers. I know, before, I think, but there's been stories where
they've been a bit coy about it.
Yeah, they've not let her show off her vocal talents quite as much as she would have liked them to, and now she's in charge. It's like, well, somebody stop there. So she's going to be in charge. Jenny, meanwhile, is having a bit of a sad look around the back room. She's packing up her photos of her and Johnny, and I don't know what's happened to those penguin pictures that used to be out there, but I loved them. And she has completely degenerified the back room of the Rovers. I wonder whether they're going to redecorate, because that redecoration has been there. I think it's been about as long as Jenny and Johnny were landlords, weren't they? I think it came in with them. I really, really like the look of the back room of the Rovers, but I don't know, it changed as good as the rest. Maybe whoever takes over for good, maybe it's Glenda. Put their own touch on it.
Got George's house now, so who lives in the Rovers now? No one.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I don't know, because
Daisy's moved out.
Yeah.
Jenny's moved out.
Gemma lives down the road. Does Ryan live there? Maybe? No? Where does
know.
Ryan live? I can't remember. I don't think it's there.
Well, Sean doesn't live there, and Glenda has got George's house, so...
Yeah. Who is living at the Rovers at the moment?
That's an insurance liability.
I think it's a time to cash in. I think they need to get... Who's a proper crim on the street at the moment? Mick. He's going to be down there rooting around the place. Anyway, she tells Glenda, does Jenny, that she's going to move in with Rita. She's just pretty down about it all. This really isn't how she saw her life going. Glenda's like, well, Carla's asked me to be in charge, so I hope that's all right with you. Jenny's like, you know what? You're going to be fine. I've got every faith in you. Thank goodness, as I say, there isn't any bitterness in Jenny here. I think she had all that for Daisy, didn't she? But it was lovely, lovely. Whole pub full of misery later, though. Jenny wasn't bitter, but everyone else seems to be. Who was there? There was Craig looking maudlin on the front on the bar. Was Kit there as well? Everyone was just very down. So Glenda comes up, spruces things up a little bit with her closed mic performance, which is just this. I can't remember what the song was. It had a lot of choo-choos in, didn't it?
I know, choo-choo.
It was
Choo-choo.
brilliant. You could tell that Jodie Frencher was having her time of her
I'm in
life
love.
then.
She says, I'm in love. That
Well,
song.
yeah.
To Craigie.
Oh yeah, she does a bit of pointing at Craig, and
I'm in
Dopey
love.
Craig is just like there's a "oh, me" kind of look. It was so lovely. I loved she was kind of like shimmying around in a circle. It was brilliant.
She
it was
and
proper
Debbie
entertainment.
Oh, magnificent.
Jenny and Debbie, I still can't decide at the moment. It's one of
You
them's
mean
going to
Glenda and Debbie?
Glenda and Debbie. Sorry, one of them is going to be my character of the week this week. I don't know who it's going to be, but both of them up the entertainment factor through the roof this week, and I really, really appreciated it. So that was lovely. Bobby and Carla come in at one point, and they're not quite as impressed by it all. But yeah, it seems to go down well enough with the punters. Pub's clearing out at the end of the episode. Jenny's still knocking them back. She's drinking. She's not too sozzled. She don't go Debbie Webster-fied, but it's enough to give her a nice, calm, look on the bright side kind of outlook about moving on from the Rovers. And she's as she leaves, she kind of says to Glenda, good luck with them glasses, she's all yours. So the torch has quite thoroughly been passed.
Because as I remember, Glenda's like, oh, help me tidy up, and she's like, no, not gonna help you. And then she says something like,
play to her.
I've been fighting so long for this place that it feels liberating to finally let it go.
Yeah,
And
good
she smiles
attitude.
and
Good
goes,
attitude.
yeah.
Yeah. Not seen her serve any bonbons or
No, not seen her
newspapers
since.
or packets of chewing gum yet, have we? But I'm sure she's doing a great guns over in the cabin. Wednesday is Glenda starting to get her feet under the table a little bit too much. Oh yeah, she does the uniforms, doesn't she? Yeah, you're right. There are some bits of management, and they're all kind of showing that she doesn't really know the first thing about good business decisions or just how to manage teams of people. Because these T-shirts that she's got are vile, aren't they? It was like bright neon pink and just a very cheaply stuck over Rovers Return logo. She didn't have to wear one, but it was for, what was it, Sean and Gemma had one?
Yeah, Sean and Gemma had one.
It didn't go down well. It reminds me of back when Dougie Ferguson took over the Rovers for a bit, 25 years or so ago now, and he tried to get Betty and Toya and Gina to have uniforms, and they protested about it. So it's not gone that far with Gemma and Sean, but yeah, they're not too impressed. It feels almost to me like, would Glenda really do that? You know, it felt more like the writers want to show that Glenda doesn't know what she's doing, rather than a decision that Glenda would actually make herself. Because surely she would know.
I agree with you.
Like the Rovers
When was
is
the last
not.
time you went to any pub and saw the staff wearing a uniform?
You could have just said when was the last time you ever went to any pub to me, and that would have been
When
enough
was
for
the
us.
last time you went to a pub?
Do they have? Who knows? But yeah, not a good idea. They're not impressed with this. Then she goes over to Carla and says that they need more people working in the pub. There's only a couple of them on the books now because Ryan's slung his and gone to work with Debbie, and Carla's like, no, can't afford anybody. Also, by the way, Glenda, sometimes people don't want Ponce uniforms and Weatherfield's Answer to Britain's Got Talent, so think on that, eh? Just keep things the same as they were. Which is apparently doing better since the Rovers opened a year and a half ago. There's not a snifter of money troubles or sellouts or anything.
No
Whatever
concern.
it is they put on, everything's going great guns over there. So then you got this pickle promo thing, which was what, a tub of pickles with every crisp.
This made me feel like acid reflux city. This did.
I mean, and you like pickles.
I love pickles. I would never just eat pickles. Pickles go with things.
What would you want to have?
Oh, a nice,
along with your pickles.
A nice pork pie or a Scotch egg.
Well, I mean, not
Or
a packet of Dempsey's like everyone else on
No.
Coronation Street gets.
No, we're too damp.
You pointed out that it smacked a little bit of the Wasabi Pea initiative that Toya brought into the Rovers unsuccessfully.
Coronation Street wants to like shorthand that this person doesn't know what they're doing. They introduce a new sort of snack.
Yeah,
or they change the recipe of the hot pot or something.
Yeah.
Don't mess with a winning formula.
Carla's not impressed by this either, but she does come round and give Lauren a job. Well, guess we'll get to Lauren later on in her story, but we have a new temporary barmaid in the Rovers in the form of Lauren, who what thoughts, Gemma?
Well, at one point Carla was saying, "Oh, so you don't need any more people," and by the end of that episode, there were 4 people behind the bar.
Yeah, well, she ends up giving her the job because Roy loves Lauren or something.
Well, no,
like
because
that, he takes pity on the poor waif.
Yeah.
To me at the moment, and maybe, I'm going to say maybe this will be the making of her, I don't necessarily see Lauren as being the best fit for the Rovers barmaid. She, the whole mantra of the Rovers is not a smile, it's a lid on a scream, or at least it is for me. And Lauren just... I can't imagine her.
Screams.
I can't imagine her actually smiling and being jovial and warming and convivial.
Sort of a bit like Karen.
Yeah.
McDonald. Wow. Like she hates everybody, and I think the only thing stopping her from out and out having slanging a match with people is that she doesn't know anybody.
She doesn't know many people. She's not vindictive. I think it's just a case of if somebody were to do something that slightly irked her, she'd probably let them know about it.
No, she's not vindictive, but she's like Lou and Mick, where why wait to be attacked? Just start.
Very, very easy to wind up, and I can can very quickly get sour faced if somebody is riling her up somewhat,
or even says the wrong thing.
Yeah, I mean, is she going to get chatted up by some leery guy in the Rovers, and then she's going to throw some beer at him or slap him around the face or something? I don't know. I don't know where I would put Lauren work-wise particularly. I mean, she's still somewhat of a blank slate, so maybe it could be the factory, maybe it could be the cafe, because that's where Roy collects his girls. But Rover's barmaid, I'm not so sure. But I'm still happy with most of the rest of the team we got there. Glenda's amazing. Still like Sean. Gemma, yeah, she's fine there. But I'm gonna hope that we're gonna see something of a different side of Lauren in this. But I'm not holding my breath so far, but I'm hoping. So they basically just get the karaoke out again later, don't they? 2 karaokes in 2 episodes, and Carla comes in and puts an abrupt halt to it. The spoil sport.
Yeah, because Glenda's like, I know Carla said that we can't have karaoke, but the internet's gone down, so what else are we supposed to do?
Oh yeah, the internet went down, didn't it? So why not put the karaoke on? And then she hadn't tried restarting.
I just love that Glenda's idea of karaoke is no one else gets a go.
I know, it basically is, isn't it? It's like, I'm the star here.
I can sing, you can't.
I mean, she probably could sing anyone else there under the table, to be fair. But it was fun, entertaining stuff for me. So I can only imagine what it was like when you were actually there. So, any
Choo-choo.
comments, thoughts? You've been somewhat quiet about this one.
No, I love Glenda. I want to join the Glenda choo-choo.
Get on the hype train. Glenda is there in the Rovers.
Yeah.
Right. Speaking of Lauren, let's talk. You want to remind us about what else she's been getting up to this week? The mystery messages,
the blackmail and etc.
Yeah. So but the last we saw, Bobby had given a load of money to Lauren.
Bobby gave Lauren the money to pay off the blackmailer, but between then and that happening, we found out that it was Jake Windass, and so nobody cares. And then Lauren took the money and used it for a deposit or something, or she needed it for something, so she took it. And Betsy knew that she took it and didn't tell Bobby that she didn't technically need it for the blackmail.
Exactly. So where do we pick up with on Monday then?
Well, Bobby brings this up with Betsy at lunch in the factory, and she gets very uncomfortable because she knows that this money has not gone where Bobby thinks it has gone.
Yes.
So Bobby and Lauren meet up in the pub, and she admits it. I was expecting this to be strung out a lot longer than it actually was.
Yes, that was small mercies.
So she says that, I'm sorry, mate, I knew who was blackmailing me, and I didn't give him the money, but I used it to pay the estate agent. I promise I'll give it back to you. And he says, that's fine. But then she opens her mouth and makes a big mistake, because she says, well, we were all thinking, for a moment there, Bobby, I thought it was you being the weird, creepy stalker. He does not like
the scripts
this.
Really did lean into it being Bobby, didn't they? I mean,
well, yeah.
If he wasn't being weird and suspicious because he was a stalker, the only other explanation was he was being weird and suspicious because he is weird and suspicious.
Yeah.
You know, so
don't be offended, Bobby. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
So he's not happy, and he says, well, why did you think it was me? And she says, well, because I thought you doing it so you could spend more time with me. And he's like aghast at this.
I know.
It's like, sorry, Bobby, you've been trying to get in her pants and spend time with her this whole time. And you're offended that she cottoned on.
Yeah.
She says, oh, I need you now. I need you. Frankie needs his Uncle Bobcat, which definitely sounded a bit manipulative. And Bobby says, no, I'm out. I'm not your friend anymore. So he goes...
Oh my gosh.
I mean, can you imagine being dumped...
I'm not going to be your friend.
Can you imagine being dumped as a friend by Bobby? You might as well just...
I would have, if I was Bobby, to be fair, I'd probably be asking for that £500 back first.
I know, I'd say, yeah, if I was Lauren, I'd be like, excellent, I've got the money and I got rid of Bobby.
I think...
This couldn't have been any better.
I do think Bobby has every right to be pretty upset and, and a bit annoyed with what Lauren has done, because... He doesn't strike me as the chap that easy come, easy go with £500, and he's now got no way of knowing.
Well, he's supposed to be going on holiday.
Yeah, is someone going to get that back? Don't know. So yeah, it is a bit of a nasty thing for Lauren to do, but to have him go from that straight to I'm never going to speak to you again, it did come across as just a little bit so cliche to me.
I know that it's not Lauren's to do what she wants with. That wasn't the idea of it. But he knew that he wasn't going to get it back right away, no matter what it was for.
Yeah, I suppose so.
So he can't have given her... I mean, and if he did give her something, money that he desperately needed, then... Again, it's because he's trying to get in her pants. It's so obvious.
I know.
So Bobby goes and sees...
The thing is, as well, I just got a prediction that you probably will one of these days.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me one iota if those two do hook up. And what sort of message is that teaching?
Just be persistent.
Yeah, exactly, it is.
Not people, men.
Just Bobby, man.
So Bobby goes and sees Carla and says, can I have my wages, please? I want to go to see Simon in Mallorca because it's my birthday this weekend. And Carla's like, oh, oops, I didn't know it was your birthday. So she's caught wrong-footed and says, oh fine, okay. Are you okay, though? Why do you have to go to Spain? I mean, it's kind of hilarious that Simon is such a bad hangout that... Well, if somebody says I'm going to hang out with Simon for the weekend, they're like, "Oh, are you all right? Something wrong with you?"
I say let's see this Simon and Bobby spin-off. It's what everyone's asking for, isn't it?
Is it going to be a DVD special?
Maybe.
Simon and Bobby in Mallorca. I cannot think of anything I'd rather not see, to be honest with you.
No. Yeah, if they made it, we'd have to cover it for the podcast.
We would have to talk about it, wouldn't we, at least? So Bobby, Betsy, Ryan and Carla go to the Rovers later, and Lauren comes in and says...
She wants to talk to Bobby,
and he's like, no, I'm not talking to you. When I come back from seeing Simon, we're strangers.
He will, I don't believe it.
He hasn't got any other friends.
No.
Do me a favour, you've got to go to Spain to find your nearest friends, Bobby.
Gemma, what about his gran? Come on now.
Which one's that?
She's not in it, but that's who he's been living with.
Is Mallorca in Spain?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. On Wednesday, Lauren finds Roy... this was supposed to be funny, but I didn't think it was that funny. He's taking chewing gum from under the tables, and she's like, "Oh, I've got chewing gum in my mouth." Anyway, she gets chatting to Ardy, who says, I run the shop single-handedly. And she says, well, would you want some help? I could work there with you. And he says, no, I can't, because Dev's not here. I've got to ask him first.
Seems like they're setting Ardy up to be having a bit of a crush on Lauren, don't you think?
I think so.
I mean, she's his type. Blonde
idiot.
Blonde, beautiful. And I don't mind him if it gives Ardy a story, why not? But
Betsy goes
I say you can do better.
The cafe, and she's not very impressed with Lauren. And she's like, you tried to steal money off Bobby, it's not on. They get into a little argument, and then another comedy thing that wasn't that funny. Roy gets sauce all over his face, and Carla walks in and she's like, oh my God!
I didn't mind that too much. It was very much would that person really get in the way? But David Nielsen took it like a trooper, didn't he?
There was definitely some farcical elements on Wednesday that I found to be too stupid.
You weren't in the right mood for that brand of comedy, were you?
I'm normally fine with stupidity. I mean, it's my life, so... But this was not for me. So Carla helps clean Roy's face off, because apparently he's never had ketchup on his face before.
Did she give him a spit wash?
Probably. He accepts Lauren's apology. Carla's still annoyed with her, but Roy's got the suggestion that she goes and works behind the bar.
Exactly, and that's how that happens.
Ardy likes Ronnie's suit.
Yeah, I wrote that note there because I couldn't really think where else it went. Did you? Ardy, was it just a nothing scene with him asking Ronnie where he got his suit from and would he look good in a suit and can you take... I thought it was funny when he wanted to take a picture and he was asking Ronnie to smile and he was like, no, not just kidding, I don't want your face. This is what you see. Ronnie loved a pose. But yeah, I'm thinking that he wants to kind of dress himself up swishly to impress young Miss Bolton.
You don't need to worry about that.
What?
She'll have anyone.
Apart from Bobby.
Lauren and Betsy meet up later and she's kind of... They're mad at each other, but then they're not.
I just can't... We're not the intended audience for this story. What can we say? Yeah, they had a fallout and then they're back. Then they're friends again. And Betsy's like, "Oh, I really want to be good friends with you." And Lauren's like, "Okay." I'm glad I'm glad for the Lauren and Betsy fans out there that probably story did a lot for you, but it was just like a big whatever for me, unfortunately.
That was it.
That was it. I want to move on.
Betsy and Lauren are fine,
but not Bobby. Because he's not in it at the moment. He'll be back.
Bobby's in Mallorca.
Yeah. I think I saw one clickbait story this week saying, like, has Bobby left Coronation Street forever? Kind of thing. But I'm not expecting that at all. Right. So finally, we just got this, the remnants of the number 11 story, the duly completed story. And Eileen is still fretting on Monday because of this massive inheritance that she's been bequeathed. And she's like, this is making me look proper guilty.
This looks very presumptuous from Eileen's perspective.
Why?
Because if I left my life's fortunes to someone, they were getting excited, they would be quite surprised to find out that it's basically a load of plates.
But I think that there was a monetary value given to the amount that Eileen's supposed to be getting.
Yeah, but we never knew how much it was, though, did we?
Oh, I thought we did. I thought it was...
How much do you think it is?
No, I don't know. I don't want to say now. I thought it was a good number of thousands. So I'll be no more specific than that. It felt like it was big. I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah.
It's £4,000.
But the thing is, whether or not Eileen had helped Julie on her way, if she'd have hung around for 2 months, she'd have got it anyway. So I don't particularly see how that does make her look more guilty.
It would make her look guilty if there was
process.
Some kind of time element to her needing to get money. Like if she owed somebody money or she had a big bill or something, then it would make sense. But as she doesn't. It's like, what you needed... What, because the Switch 2 is coming out? I mean, you had to get rid of her so you could buy one.
The other option is, did Eileen's... And none of this is true, but people might suggest, did Eileen think that Julie was about to change her will so that somebody else got it instead? Maybe it was going to Brian.
Yeah,
and then
that could be argued.
Eileen killed her off first before she had a chance to transfer. I don't know, but it's a really weak argument, I would say. And even the fact that Eileen's pills were what was found in her system, she didn't need Eileen's help to find them. She just could have gone through and got them herself, couldn't she?
People with terminal illnesses can steal things.
They can. Julie was a kind of cunny old bird, wasn't she? Anyway, sorry, what else happens?
I thought you were doing
this. Was I doing this one? Oh, I doing this one. Sorry, I thought it was you. So, in the pub later, Kit's telling Eileen that the drugs have been found in Julie's system. Like I said, they're definitely hers. So Eileen's she's doesn't know what to make of this news. She's just feeling like everybody is accusing her. So she escapes back home with George. Then she's like, does the fact that I left the pub make me look even more guilty? And George says, look, you've done nothing wrong, Eyelash. But Eileen's like, no, sorry, I'm losing it. I can't cope with this. Todd comes into the lounge later, finds Eileen trying to sort out her matching cutlery sets, of course. So she says, look, honestly, the whole house, it needs a proper sort out. She's using distraction techniques to take her mind off of the fact that she could potentially be facing many years in the slammer for this thing that she's completely innocent of.
I thought she's just like working out what to spend her fortune on.
What do I need? Do I need more forks or some spoons?
Get a whole set.
Oh, I haven't got any sporks in this one. Maybe it's going to be that.
Sporks.
Yeah. China, what's it called? Handled sporks. So anyway, he's like, no, China, oyster shell, pearlescent. I don't know.
Plastic in this house.
Anyway, he says, look, if you're just worried about what's going on with Julie, everything's going to be fine. Everyone's telling her everything's going to be fine. And then Glenda in the pub later tells George that he needs to do something to show Eileen that he cares, because he's still a little bit worried that she's gone off him. And his stupid brain jumps to the idea that maybe he should spring a surprise wedding on her. When has that ever been a good idea? Seriously.
Not a good idea.
At least...
Not even a surprise proposal is a good idea, really.
Well, you know...
Well, that you should know that person... You shouldn't be wondering, are they going to say yes or no?
Yeah.
There are certain things... The proposal should be a surprise, but the question shouldn't be.
No, but some people... It's very common on soaps to make that mistake, but I can't think of a time when anyone has sprung a surprise wedding on someone and they've gone along with it because they thought that's a perfectly normal idea.
Was it Rita and
Alan Bradley was one for sure, yeah. So there's been more, I can't remember who else. But I think that could end up being the final straw because Eileen, bless her, she's asking for a bit of romance with George, but I don't particularly see her as being that much of an old romantic herself, do you?
Is she one of the few characters on Coronation Street who's been there for a long time but never got married?
She did get married. She was married to Pat for a bit, wasn't she? She was Eileen Phelan.
Eileen Phelan.
Yeah.
I don't really remember that.
Yeah, for sure, she was.
I would kind of like it if there was a very long... I don't think there is anybody who's been in relationships and not got married.
Well, it's just too much of a temptation for the soap covers, isn't it, to get them down the aisle, yeah. Anyway, Eileen's not going to like this plan. She's going to think it's absolutely bloody ridiculous. She's going to throw him out on his ear, and that's going to be the end of that. I think that's probably where it's going.
Do you think he's going to do something buffoony with, accidentally using a hearse? A horse,
yes.
A hearse horse.
Probably. Is he gonna... Maybe he's gonna, get a wreath that says, "Marry me, eyelash," and he's gonna drive his horse-drawn hearse down the street in front of number 11.
I think he's gonna get one that says Eileen, but it's spelt differently, and he'd be like, "Look, it's Kismet.
What?
A lady died who's got the same name as you. It's not spelled the same way, but I think it shows the universe wants us to be together."
Maybe he's gonna pretend to be a vampire in a coffin, and there's gonna be a coffin there, and she's gonna open it up, and he's gonna spring out, going, "Whoa,
she'll stab
babe,
him.
you're marrying me."
Stab him through the heart, and then everyone will be like, "Eileen, again? You've killed us again."
I can't think that anything he's going to do is going to be anywhere near a good idea. It was a bit like the Dev and Bernie when he proposed to her last year in the middle of that balloon show. Probably not the best idea, and I can see this going down just as
like a pan of cold
badly,
sick.
yeah. So that's all we've seen of Coronation Street this week. Just 2 episodes. Fridays is still to come. We will talk more about that next week. How are you thinking? Should we get our character out of the week first? Was it Debbie?
Character of the week out of the way first.
Sorry. Is it Debbie? Was it Glenda? Because it ain't nobody else, is it? Seriously.
I think Glenda. Glenda.
I was going more down the Glenda route.
Because I think Debbie's got a lot more character of the weeks in her.
I don't think that we can use that as a reason not to give it to her. You're right. And we have given it to her recently as well. But I think Glenda just tips it for me for being so unexpectedly brilliant. I didn't go into this week thinking, "Oh, this is going to be great. We're going to be proper entertained by Glenda." But usually if I know that Debbie's in a week, I kind of know what I'm leading myself up for. But yeah, I think Glenda, not just one karaoke night, but 2. She was captivating. She was brilliant. She was, just letting it all out and finally coming out of her shell just that little bit more. Absolutely 100% loved her. But Debbie, by gosh, she was a close second for that amazing drunk scene. What do you think about score-wise?
This week was... Well, these 2 episodes were definitely better than last week.
Yeah, you gave Monday a banging, didn't you?
Well, I gave last week 1.5 because I was disgusted.
We were still smarting from the ridiculousness of the aftermath of Julie's death last week, weren't we? I said, when I was watching Mondays, I was mostly feeling a bit ho-hum about it for the majority of it. And it wasn't until that last act when Glenda stepped out with a mic that suddenly it rocketed, way into the quite tolerable standard.
And I'm also quite interested in what's going on with Mick and Kit,
yeah,
which I wasn't so much last week. So I think
I'm
going
doing
to
a good
give
job of
this
building
week
up to that.
3 little tubs of sweaty pickles out of 5.
Lovely, cool.
Covered in Sarah Lou's...
Still just 3 though for
Sarah
a week.
Lou's spit.
Oh yeah. Still just 3 for a week.
Yes.
I'm going to go. I might go. I think I'm going to go 3.5 for this one.
Well, don't quibble with me for 3.
I'm going to give it 3.5 twiddly twos out of 5. Pretty solid week, to be honest. Well, part of a week. I guess we'll find out on Friday.
What do you think of twiddly twos or choo choo?
I love them all. Love them all.